What's going on, guys? My name is Monotooi, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our Week 4 match against AmazingChi, coach of the... what is this team name? Newcrustle United. We are currently 3-0, they are 0-3, however, she did beat us last season. It was a little bit of a hexy match, but he was able to overcome us last season. And he does have a pretty solid team, and he can definitely come back at any point, so we have to be on our game. I have an entire team builder dedicated to my team, of course. The video went up yesterday. However, just for a quick rundown, we have our Shukaberry Nidoqueen, we have our Specs Whimsicott, we have our physically defensive Jellicent, we have our Life Orb Reuniclus, we have our Mega Lopunny, and we have our Scarf Tyranitar. Now, something I immediately noticed when I looked at this team is that he did not have Entei, which was great. Even though I do have the Jellicent to switch into it, it could have been an issue if Jellicent was taken down, and it may have been pressured by the combination of Jolteon, maybe Dark Pulse from Blastoise, but aside from Jolteon, Jellicent is actually looking pretty good against his team. If that is an unaware Fable, I will be able to Toxic it and beat it, which is good. And that's pretty much it that I want to point out. Rocks are not looking super useful. He didn't bring any of his rock weaknesses. Didn't bring Articuno, which I was a little bit surprised about because it did deal decent damage to my team, but I can see why he didn't bring it. I do have things like Tyranitar, things like Lopunny that threaten it offensively. So yeah, that is it. I am going to get into the match. Can't click on the screen apparently, so... Alright, there's Sheep issuing the challenge. I'm going to lead with my Nidoqueen. It just is a very good lead against the majority of his team, against everything, aside from pretty much this Blastoise as well as the Latios. It's fine, I do have a good switch into this. I'm going to just hard switch out into my Reuniclus, knowing I can take any hit. If I get Scald Burn, that's great. Didn't want my Jellicent to potentially take a Toxic as well. But we see here, that does a lot of damage. It's a crit. It does get the burn, which of course is irrelevant. And I'm thinking that's actually modest max special attack, because that did a lot of damage. Anyway, even with the crit, of course. Anyway, I'm going to go first with the recover, which means he's either going for Roar or Dragon Tail. Does go for the Dragon Tail, just phases me out, which is fine. I'm not a setup for Uniclus anyway, so I don't care. And he sends me back out into Nidoqueen, which is the worst possible thing I could have gotten sent into. It's like literally the worst thing, because this cannot really deal much damage to Blastoise, especially if he's Assault Vest, which he's brought a couple weeks previously. Anyway, I'm going to switch back in my Reuniclus, take another Scald, and here, I believe he switches out into his Clefable, as I go for the Future Sight. Now, I'm predicting this thing to be physically defensive for my Lopunny, so I know it's not going to appreciate a Future Sight at all. Here, I have a safe switch out into my Nidoqueen, because I can take anything this thing wants to do for me. I don't think it's going to have Psychic, as he just goes for the Calm Mind, which is totally fine because, again, Nidoqueen still will deal a lot of damage to this Clefable, and it's going to have to take Future Sight, and I do have Toxic on my Jellicent anyway. I don't think he's going to stay in. I could have gone for Rocks here, but he still has his Blastoise to spin, even though I can potentially block it with Jellicent, and I don't want to mess around with a potential setup Clefable, so I do just go right for the Sludge Wave. Also, Rocks aren't super useful against this team. Like I said, he has nothing weak to it. He's going to take the Sludge Wave and then takes the Life Orb Future Sight. That damage absolutely confirms that he's going to solve that Blastoise. That did not do much at all. That's a Life Orb Future Sight from Reuniclus as well as a modest Sludge Wave. But I'm going to make an offensive switch out into my Whimsicott as he goes for the Scald. Could have been dangerous if I got burned here, but totally fine. He has no switch into his Moonblast now. Didn't bring Entei, has no switch into Moonblast. Going to go for the Specs Moonblast, and he's going to clean knock out the Blastoise. And we're off to a 6-5 lead. He's now going to send out his Jolteon, and I'm going to die to an HP Ice. So I don't want to switch in my Nidoqueen because, of course, I'm weak to the HP Ice, even though I can take it. I'm going to go out to my Tyranitar, which is going to take the set up the stand, and then is going to take the Hidden Power Ice very well. However, as you'll see here, this Hidden Power is actually not very effective. That's actually Hidden Power Fire for my Ferrothorn, which I didn't know I was bringing, which means my Nidoqueen walls it, which is good. He's going to switch out. I thought about going for Pursuit there, just getting a nice amount of damage on the Jolteon, but instead I decided to just go for Ice Punch, trying to potentially catch the Gliscor on switch in, potentially hitting the Clefable, revealing if it's unaware or not, because the sand will obviously damage it if it is. Here I cannot stay in, so I'm going to go right out into my Jellicent, as he is going to actually pull a double back out into his Clefable, which is totally fine because I can potentially wear this thing down, and because he takes sand damage, I know it's an unaware Clefable, I can Toxic it and just slowly wear it down, and I do have safe switch-ins, being my Nidoqueen, mainly my Nidoqueen, but Nidoqueen is a very good switch-in. So I am right here after the leftovers and everything goes off. I am just going to go for a Toxic, because he actually sets a Wish, and he actually outspeeds me, which was interesting. So he must have had a decent amount of speed on that. But regardless, he's going to go for a Wish. I just hit it with the Toxic. As long as he does not have Heal Bell, which I doubt he's going to have, I am going to be able to stall this thing to death. Because if he does have Heal Bell, that means he's going to have like Wish, Protect, Heal Bell, and then just Moonblast, which means my Nidoqueen 100% walls it. He wouldn't be able to touch my Ferrothorn, so that's why I have that. But again, he is poisoned, which is really good. It will prevent him from getting a potential setup sweep later on, even though I doubt that would happen with my Mons anyway. So he is going to withdraw here and send out his Jolteon, as I am actually also going to pull a switch out into my Nidoqueen, just because I didn't want him to have Toxic or T-Wave and status my Jellicent. So gonna go back out into Nidoqueen to deal with the Clefable, as he actually switches out into Jolteon, like I just said. Gonna get the Wish back, totally fine, didn't really gain much. As he is going to withdraw, and I don't make an over prediction, I just go for the Earth Power, as he actually sends in his Gliscor, which is totally fine because I do have the Shuca Berry. I will be able to take any hit from this thing and knock it out with an Ice Beam and still be at a good amount of HP to take on the Clefable. So he's going to hit me with the Earthquake, Shuca Berry goes off, I am able to tank it, and then am going to be able to easily knock it out with the modest Ice Beam. Even if he were Spadef, I don't believe it would have lived, but it's going to go down, and which is good. That opens up a pretty big door for my Lopunny. His Lopunny checks are getting worn down, the Clefable, the Gliscor. Here he's going to send out his Latios, and he makes a very good play, knowing that I can't stay in and knowing that I'm going to want to Pursuit Trap this thing. He, after the sand of course goes up, he is going to go right for the Hidden Power Fighting, which was a very good play. There's no chance of me staying in, but still a very good play on his part. And after seeing no item, I'm immediately thinking Scarf. No way he's not Scarf. It wasn't extra belt damage, obviously didn't see a Life Orb, so I'm switching out immediately out into my Whimsicott, which still is at a very good amount of HP. Will be able to take two Hidden Power Fightings very nicely, which he is going to go for, and like I said, I am going to be able to tank that, and nothing on his team appreciates the Specs Moonblast. Just like Jordan's team, his entire team is pretty much just weak to fairies. Offensive fairies, that is. Now, Specs Moonblast is going to hurt whatever comes in. He's going to send out his Clefable, but because this thing, like I predicted, is fully physically defensive for my Mega Lopunny, it is easily going to get to a KO by Moonblast. Special attack drop doesn't matter. The Sand plus the Toxic will negate its leftovers and get a little bit more damage on it anyway. So even if he has Protect, he's not going to be able to get leftovers back up to potentially take another Moonblast. So he's pretty much just forced to stack his Clefable here, which is perfect. So I am going to go for another Moonblast, and it is just going to knock out this Clefable. Again, great, which is great, because Clefable is annoying. Clefables can be dangerous. So Whimsicott is at a little bit low HP, as he's going to send out his Jolteon here, as I believe I actually saved my Whimsicott at this point. I switched my Whimsicott out into my Tyranitar. With the Latios gone, it's not quite as useful. It doesn't outspeed this Jolteon, dies to the Hitmonchan. So I go out into this to kind of just sack it off, but he actually goes for the Shadow Ball as I live. And he actually had a chance to knock me out here with another one because the sand went away and my special defense isn't as good, but he does switch out, goes back out into his Hitmonchan as I just hit this thing with another Ice Punch. Just a good neutral move on his entire team. Hit this, hit Jolteon, hit the Latios. Not the Latios. No, the Latios is still alive. So hit the Latios. I was thinking he would actually over-predict there because I still have my Gels and have my Reuniclus left. I didn't think he'd go right for a Mach Punch, but he does just go right for a Mach Punch. Again, it's fine because Tyranitar is the most useless thing in my team at this point. He's going to go out into his Latios as I go for the Recover, and he cannot knock me out with anything. I know he's Scarfed. If he goes for Trick, that is fine, which is exactly what he does, because I don't need my Reuniclus 100% either, and I will be getting good damage off on this Latios. Also, now that he has a Life Orb, my Tyranitar will outspeed it, and I can potentially Pursuit Trap it later, but I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball. Deals decent damage to the Latios, does not knock it out because, of course, he got rid of my Life Orb, but he's going to hit me with the Life Orb Shadow Ball. I tank it. Special defense drop doesn't really matter. Going to take Life Orb damage, and then I'm going to be able to knock it out with the second Shadow Ball, which is great. We are slowly getting rid of his Pokemon, which is just good in general. Obviously, you win when you have more than your opponent at the end of the match. So he's going to send in his Jolteon, And again, I don't need my Reunicorps at this point. I could save it for the Hitmonchan, but there's no real point. I have Gel since I have other things to deal with it. Hitmonchan dies to Fake Out at this point. But here, I'm just going to go into my Mega Lopunny, which can definitely clean up the game. I know this thing is Specs because earlier on in the match, he just hard switched out, did not hold switch, so I know that he is likely Specs. So I can just go for the return. I could have just gone for Fake Out just to be safe anyway, but it really didn't matter what I clicked because the Hitmonchan was dying anyway. I knew it was coming in. So he is going to sack off his Hitmonchan, and I win 100%. No move he can lock himself into. A Jolteon will kill me. Not Hidden Power, not an electric move, not Shadow Ball, so he is just going to go for the Thunderbolt. I am adamant, so it will outspeed me because it is timid. It's going to hit me, but I do live, and I am going to just clean Oko with the adamant return from Mega Lopunny. And that is going to be the game, a 4-0 victory for the Tampa Bay Luxrays and myself. So this was a very good game, very good match. The matchup was definitely in my favor. Like, I knew that while building, I was thinking, okay, he's going to have to be very creative with what he does, but I had answers to everything. I had answers to set up Clefable, I had answers to supportive Clefable. Latios, no matter what, would have been... Like, he played his Latios very well around my Tyranitar, not letting it get Pursuit Trapped and threatening me with it. Threatening my Tyranitar with it, but I was still able to deal with it because it being Choice, I have multiple switch-ins to fighting type moves. The Jolteon was put in a position where it could not spam any specific move. I just had the ability to Oko with my Lopunny, even though it wasn't able to get a hit off. Life score, like I said, I had ice coverage on most of my team, ice or water. The things I didn't, like Reuniclus didn't have coverage for, but could just 2 a KO anyway because it's really powerful. And I was able to take that out with the Sugarberry Nidoqueen, which is perfect. And then there was Blastoise, which even though it was a little bit annoying in the beginning, being able to take hits relatively well and deal some damage on my team, I was just able to wear down. It didn't have any recovery, and I pressured it into a spot where he had to sack it off, which was very good. I was very happy with that. This is just a good game in general. We are now 4-0, and if Ellie wins by a 3-0 or less, then we are actually, if she wins 1-0 or 2-0, then, actually I believe 1-2 or 3-0, then we are ahead. If she wins 4-0, 5-0, or 6-0, then she is ahead or tied with me. I'm not entirely sure. I think I showed that off like last week, so if you guys want to do the math, go ahead. I'm lazy, but thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next week. Next week we're going up against Evelyn and the Herdier Bremen, so I hope you're looking forward to that, and I'll see you there.